Welcome, viewers. We're on the Educator podcast with Michelle Chapman. So, Michelle came from pretty far away. So, we appreciate you taking the travel to come up here because if you're in Atlanta, traffic is traffic. So, Michelle, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting me on your podcast today. My name is Michelle Chapman. I'm the founder of Chapman Consulting. I service small businesses. I do financial business intelligence, which is basically taking data points across the entire corporation, automatically processing the accounting and financials. So you have CEO or CFO dashboards with your KPI, your key performance indicators, beautifully displayed in real time for small businesses.
Dang, I love this because we had last week somebody that talked about data. And I was on a podcast, not a podcast, I was in a class. And the question was, if you could learn a skill, this was 10 years ago, what would you learn? He said, data. And I was going, data? I couldn't even spell it. I didn't know what he was talking about. Then all of a sudden, fast forward 10 years, you can't get around it. I mean, it's like everywhere. So tell me, because I want our viewers to get a perspective. At what point did you feel that data was going to be in your like career-ish? Was it when you were a little girl? You were playing around with numbers instead of Barbies? Like, give our viewers a little idea.
Yeah, so I've always loved math, so that's why I picked the career field. I like formulas, creating formulas and design. Yes.
So that's then all of a sudden you go to school. What do you study to really pursue a data career? What did you do that in school or out of school? What was the transition there?
Sure. So I went into accounting, not really thinking analytics initially. What really drove me to analytics is 2019. I was with a very large multi-billion-dollar global corporation. They did a very large merge. When they did that, the workload became unbearable. Investors want information immediately. Banks want information immediately. And it was, how do we process all of that in a decent time and still be accurate, because everything in accounting and finance is still very manual. So what we did is me and my team taught ourselves Power BI, which is the automation tool. So by leveraging that tool, we were able to automate many of the processes and reduce labor efficiency throughout the finance department in North America.
I love that. And so corporations the big ones always get the tools before the small companies get it. So we talked briefly about how you're applying data to small businesses. So let's talk to our small business owners. Why is it important that they need to embrace data and how it affects their business?
Sure. So what the large corporations figured out is everybody tracks KPI, but what is KRI? Key risk indicators. So if you have red in your company, you should be devoting all of your daily time to the red. You completely ignore the green. And that's what these big, large corporations are doing. Small businesses try to evenly, allocate their time, 10% to marketing, 25 to HR, what have you. But in reality, you need to know your data to know what the risk in your company are. And then that helps you allocate your time, which improves efficiency, which improves your profitability for your company.
Wow, I love that. So what would you say for the people that are hearing like AI? How's that tool affecting the storyline for small businesses? What should they be thinking about?
Sure. So AI releases have just been made available the end of last year and the beginning of this year for Power BI. What that enables the user to do to say, you can ask the system, why were my sales lower this year over last year? And it will answer you. It will say customer XYZ placed the order for product ABC for this amount, and that's what caused your year-over-year variance. So AI can now answer these questions you get in the boardroom now.
Golly day. To think that you can get those kind of answers that quickly I mean, it just excites me because knowing knowing what's going on in your business is critical to succeeding and growing. So talk to our viewers, like, what kind of businesses are you seeing that are saying, Michelle, we want to use your services? Are they trade based, or what type of businesses are having these conversations with you?
Yes, typically it's going to be business owners that have multiple businesses. I call them gig businesses. So they
Mhm.
might have landscaping, they have a food truck, and their wife has a salon, and
Mhm.
they want to see their cash flow of a consolidated basis as well
Mhm.
as the individual business unit. So those are the customers. A lot of times they don't have even their expenses categorized. So to have a tool to see their information on a daily basis to allow them redirect their time is it just transforms the way small businesses operate.
Man, that's crazy good, because I do know people that have multiple businesses, and that's almost like they're in silos and you have to
Mhm.
make decisions on each silo, which slows everything down. What is a business like when you're consulting with them
Mhm.
and you're working with them? Because data is only as good as the story behind the
Sure,
data.
sure.
So you have those three businesses that an owner has. What are your conversations with them to really help them make it into one company, not three individuals?
Sure. So the biggest thing is cash flow for most small businesses. So
Mhm.
understanding the consolidated cash flow and then the individual contribution of each business unit within that cash flow. And then further analyzing if there's a business unit that's struggling with cash flow, why? And then that's where the tools come into play, where you can deep dive into product margins for each, product type that you sell. That's when you start the deep dives with the customer to identify that root problem of the trouble areas in their business, and then also to help them scale, where to invest their cash flow, their excess cash flow into capital assets
Mhm.
to help generate future revenues.
Golly day. So we're moving into a lot of chaos out there. I mean, to say the least, if you're at least listening to more than just the traditional media, you know that the indicators that are out there kind of spells chaos. So as a small business owner, I'm listening to this and I'm going, how do I prepare for a year of chaos? Because a lot of people will say this is going to be the year of chaos. What would you say to them if you're in your position now? I know, understanding, but just talk to our viewers that are going like, yeah, I've got to be able to do this and this
Mhm.
this year. What would it be?
Sure. So I think identifying the risk in your business right now and getting those taken care of is going to help you ride out the wave of a future recession if it occurs. So, for example, to deep dive into your risk and then be able to find contracts. Do we renegotiate our contracts, your operating expense, your overhead? How do we reduce these expenses now to
Mhm.
hedge for risk? So that would be my best bet, is to try to hedge the risk. And if you do have money to invest in capital assets, I would still continue to invest in capital assets.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about debt.
Mhm.
Is all debt the same?
No, not at all. So, debt, people think of as a liability. It can be an asset. So, if you take a debt out, say at 4% interest rate, but and you purchase a capital asset with that, you could yield 15-20% a year. So, you're actually making money off of somebody else's money. So, debt's not equal in any way. As long as you're utilizing that debt to generate future revenues, that is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think we tend to group things into one category, like, and I've heard that similar what you just said, and I think our viewers just understanding that there is a big difference, and I like how you say 4%, you get a 15% return. I don't even have to figure that one out. I know 9% is the game, so
Yep.
if I can figure it out, everybody can. But they have to have that conversation. And I think it's so important to ask a person like yourself, like, okay, I'm thinking of buying this piece of equipment, which will increase my productivity by whatever percent. And I'm going to incur some debt to get there, but I'm going to amortize it over a few years. It makes it easy to make decisions, because if you're not investing in technology today, your competitors are going to fly by you. So what do you say to people when it comes to, they say, man, Michelle, I am overwhelmed by technology. How's that conversation go?
Technology, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses. And as a business owner, if advancing in technology or keeping up with the latest technology is not your skill set or something you're interested in, network, meet people, partnership with people, hire it out, outsource it. It is the way of the future. Labor efficiencies are trending that way, whether it's robotics or AI and software, both ways, we're trending to robotics. So if you don't, pick up the pace and trend towards automation and technology, you're going to fall behind in your product margins and lose it in labor efficiencies.
Dang, I tell you what, I'd hire you in a heartbeat, because your answers are so understandable. And when I'm talking to some people, I used to be more of a golfer, but I'll ask a person, so what do you do? And 10 minutes later, I don't know what they do. They just go they give me all this technical language that I can't figure out what they do. But I mean, keeping it simple makes so much. The brain works in simple thoughts. Like we have, I don't know if the number is right, 60,000 marketing messages a day. So you're looking at processing all this. What do you do? Because we met at a networking event. Sure. It would be real easy for a business owner to sit back and not build relationships. So how important are relationships into your business? What could you say to our business owners out there?
I think, building relationships is everything to a business owner. I've gone through several, mentor trainings and everything as well. And it's just today in business, it used to be you're looking for the perfectly polished advertisement. That's how you knew they had money. That's how you knew they were legit. Now with AI, now people think it's a scam if everything's perfect. So people are looking for individuals. Who's the person? Who's the face? Who's the personality? Can the person be trusted? So that's why meetups and networking is so important, because now you are proving yourself in the age where anybody can put a beautiful, perfect image up online.
Yeah, I love that, because our mutual friend, Father Seymour, recommended. So he, after we did the podcast, he said, man, you have to have Michelle on. So, we didn't meet that night, but we were at the same event. But here's a person that immediately goes to his number one person, because we always ask that and people give us one person, but I didn't even ask him that. He said, well, you got to have Michelle on your podcast. Now I know why, because I geek out on data. I don't know it all, but I love hearing how things are evolving and how AI is working and how data points mean that transfers into a story. What do you do to, if we have a podcast, personal development? What do you do individually, not to just know all the techie stuff? How do you develop as a person to continue to get better?
Sure. So as you mentioned, there's meetups. There's also tech meetups in the city of Atlanta. And these tech meetups, it's not just networking, it's also education.
Okay.
So I'm, continuously going to on-site and online education through Microsoft and other tech groups across the country, really. Yes, to stay on top, because it's releasing every month right now. So,
yeah. Do you find that, and I did a digital business before, a couple of years, and I think it gave me a stroke, because it was so much information. It's like I had a person on, she's retired, she did websites and was in the digital space. And we were talking how demanding it was, and that she basically retired, went to Florida with her husband, and like she doesn't have anything to do with the technology part of digital anymore. She does health. So do you find it in an industry that's changing so much? How do you manage it, if possible, if you could communicate that to or share that with our viewers? What's your strategy? Because you never can know enough.
Yes. With managing the data?
Yeah, and just the influx of new things that are affecting you and what you do in the consulting business.
Sure. So, I mean, it's ever changing. So again, it's going through, the training that's available, partnershiping with these big companies. Microsoft has an amazing partnership. They have an online community through, social forums and groups, as well as that training resource. IBM has one as well that's global. So there is a large global network of analysts that right now are kind of scrambling, to be honest with you, trying to learn all the technology that's coming at us at such a rapid pace.
So as a business owner, we're seeing things change so rapidly. What would you advise a business owner as far as what to do relationship wise? If you're talking to a business owner with several businesses, what would you say, and what would be a good thing for them to kind of take home?
Relationship wise?
Yeah, to build those relationships.
So I think community involvement is everything right now. The world's struggling. The world's a little traumatized after COVID. So what I'm seeing is a lot of small business owners is holding hands of their community, free community education. I personally do financial literacy, free education. Our friend, Mr. Seymour, is involved in the community with educating the community. So I think the more people, people that do have the education can give it away. That's going to help us as a community. It's going to raise us as a community. And like I said, everything's going robotics. Even warehouse picking is going to robotics. So unless we elevate as a community and educate on, how to invest your money, what capital assets are. I mean, what capital assets are is reserved for business school. We don't teach this in elementary. So, but as a business owner, I think it's just important to give back to your community in order to, receive that reward as well. And, it's very fulfilling being able to see people start their own business after having some financial literacy classes.
Yeah. That I love that. And a person told me once, you learn it, and then when you teach it, it brings your awareness of the topic. So teaching something, do you, like in working with small business owners and communities on the financial literacy part, what do you see when you're teaching, let's just say with Mr. Seymour? We call you now Father Seymour. So you have two names, Mr. Seymour and Father Seymour. So you're talking to your kids and you're teaching them. Give us an idea of what you're teaching them. How are you approaching? I know this is a short podcast.
Sure.
Frame it in such a way like a viewer can go, dang, I can learn that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so even small children can do this. You ask them, what do you own? What do you own right now? What have you spent your allowance on? Maybe it's, a playground. They bought a playground in their backyard. Now, how do you make money with assets that you already own? Can you throw an event? Have a party and charge admission, or put a lemonade stand up at the playground, or, it's just trying to get people to think outside the box of what do you already own. For an adult, it could be your car. You could put it on Turo. It could be, you have a really nice spot here. You could rent this out to somebody else for photography or to do a podcast in your studio. So it's to think, what do you have? And it's not just possessions, it's your skills. We have to start thinking about our time and our skill set, our imagination, our creative mind. And that's something nobody can take away from you. And that is something you can monetize in the future.
Yeah, I love that. We had Todd Lesson on last week, and he brought his son with him, and he's a photographer. Plus, he's designing logos, and so he's homeschooled. So he's inviting him as many, business type, meetings, so he can get exposed to it. And you should have seen him. I never met him before, but he was taking pictures and angles and all this stuff. But I called Todd yesterday and I said, would your son be willing to participate in like our events on a larger scale and be able to take pictures plus be around, business people? Because the more, I think to your point, the more you can expose people to an environment that's coming down the road, the better. And so, yeah, I love the mentoring model, because if we're not providing that, how do they know what's coming? So, are you teaching these classes and partnering with Father Seymour? How are you doing that? Where are you like teaching them in person, or what type of environment are you all working together on?
Sure. So right now I'm doing online.
Okay.
We do have a network of resources to provide in-person training as well. So right
Mhm.
now we are working with other, non-for-profits that do kind of pull resources together to have all these individuals, offering all these volunteer services. How do we pull them together? So, I could be pulled into a class along with a grant writer training and,
Mhm.
something like that. So I would be an add-on. So, I just make myself available for that as
Mhm.
well as doing my own training.
Ooh, wow, I love this. This leads me to my next to last question. How can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So you can contact me at chapmanfinancialconsulting.com. My email address is clientsupport@chapmanfinancialconsulting.com. So,
Dang, I
yeah.
love it. So we were trying, before we came on, we were looking at what would be a good podcast. And I think like The Educator, man, this is like a right on. So I want our viewers to know, just to kind of challenge them, share this with people that either need to have those resources taught to the younger kids in community, and share it with business owners who, you know, you everything's changing so fast. So you have to be aware of your data. You have to be aware of what that means to make better decisions. So, and if you have any questions, certainly reach out to Michelle. Her information will be out there. You can put it in the comments plus email. So my final question is, so what would be the one thing that you want our viewers to take home from this time on the podcast?
Oh man, I would say the way we have historically been trained of managing our money, work hard till retirement, save, and then, live off your savings and your retirement kind of needs to be rethought, or even retaught.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to utilize your assets, where it's physical or your skills, like I said, to develop and grow your wealth over time so you can reach financial independence while you're working. And then, that would secure your retirement as well.
Dang, that's like the most current advice that I've heard. Because the model of how we educate kids is being turned upside down.
It is.
And I tell you, for our viewers, that's so good to take home. Thank you, Michelle, for one, driving all the way from where you came. We're not going to tell them how far you came, because they're going to go, man, she's crazy. I mean, that's a long way with traffic. Thank you for being with us in the studio and really helping our small business owners understand, having this information at your fingertips will make you successful.
Sure.
So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much.
Hold on.